So I was planning on making a hi-hat tutorial, but the beat I made for the sake of the tutorial turned out really nice. So I decided to just, show you how I made it, break it down, instead of, doing the hi-hat thing. But I'm definitely gonna do this on the next video. But for this one, I'm just gonna break down the beat because I really like it. It kind of reminds me of Uzi Vert vibes, so that's probably gonna be a Lil Uzi type beat. So yeah, anyways, let me show you how I made it. So I started with this melody right here. So yeah, as you can tell, it really reminds me of Uzi Vert vibes. Let me take all the effects off so I can show you the starting sound. Okay, it is an X-Band 2 guitar. It's a mandolin actually. This is how it sounds without the effects and anything. But first of all, what I did was I routed it to another track. I don't really know why I did that. I mean, I could just add the effects right there, but I think I was planning on layering it with something else, but it sounded good on its own. And the only thing I added on this it gives it a little bit of a grunge sound, in my opinion. And the next thing I did was I simply routed it to a reverb send and a delay send. And what I actually did with the sends, I panned the delay a bit more to the left and the reverb to the right, so I can be a bit more creative and split the effects so they don't really fight with each other. It's a subtle thing to do, it's not necessary, but I like to experiment sometimes. Also on the reverb, I added an EQ as well to get rid of the low end of the reverb, because sometimes you might get a muddy mix because of your reverb. Okay, so the next sound is like the counter melody. And along with the main melody, they sound like this together. So now you get why I get those Uzi Vert vibes. I think it's a really close type beat. So anyways, I will turn off the melodies now and I will go to the drums, first starting with the 808. And what I added on the 808 is actually, first of all, it's an EQ, like this, how it sounds without the EQ. Wait. And this with the EQ. Yeah, pretty much I cut some of the very low end because I believe, like, since my kick is hitting on a lower note, I decided to keep the very low for the kick, and I also took out some of the high end to leave some space for the hi-hats and all that stuff. And I also didn't like this frequency right here. So yeah, we took it down a bit, just a little bit. And I also added a limiter, and I've already explained on a video why I use a limiter sometimes. It's because, when the 808 goes on higher notes, the overall dB also tends to go higher, and what that does is, you don't get a stable decibel level of your mix. So with the limiter, even when we're going on higher octaves, we still have pretty much a more stable volume, So it's a nice subtle thing to do, but be careful when you're using the Fruity limiter. Make sure you turn off these 3 envelopes because they kind of, you know, change your sound a little bit, and they're also the reason why this limiter really you know, distorts very fast when you are using it for mastering or something like that. Okay, then we have the kick, which is the same pattern as the 808, but this time on a single note. The problem I had with the kick in the beginning was it would sounded like too muddy, and that was because it wasn't clicky enough. Yeah, as you can tell, a sound like that can really, you know, fight with the 808, and we don't want that. So what I did was I just, you know, completely took out the tail of the kick to, you know, to make it sound sharper, and you get a more beautiful sound. And then we go to the clap. And next, for the hi-hats, I did something that I will explain on the next video about the hi-hat tips, but now I'm just gonna, you know, show you. I have 2 layers of hi-hats. The first one is that simple rhythm, and, you know, just sometimes to make it a bit more groovy, I just, you know, played with the velocity, and anytime the clap hits, I actually really load the velocity on the hat so their high end doesn't clash with the clap too much. And on this one, I just added, you know, this pretty simple EQ, boosting some of the high end, but, you know. And then I added a second layer, which is, you know, my hi-hat rolls. Once again, I played with the velocity a lot on these. This is how they sound. So yeah, and what I did was I actually panned those 2 hi-hat layers so they are not on the same spot, and then I routed them to, where is it? Yeah, there it is. I routed them to their own bass channel, and what I added was reverb 2, and I believe it's the drum room preset, but pretty much everything with low decay works. But in this case, I actually boosted the decay a lot so I can have a more spacey vibe. This is how they sound. So yeah, this is why I increased the decay, and I also added some open hats as well. Okay, let me go to the first one. Yeah, pretty simple, if I'm being honest. And another open hat that actually goes along with the kick to make it sound a bit more crispy. Okay, this is how it sounds with the kick. Where it is here. It's a really subtle thing, but it kind of, you know, complements the high end of the kick. And I also added a small percussion sound. I played a little bit with it. I'm gonna show you how. You know, it's a classic feel. And what I also did on this sound, I actually changed the panning on the feed, so, you know, I can play a little bit with the listener's ears. You know, it's just a nice subtle thing to do, like we call it ear candy. So anyways, this is every layer I added on the beat. I will probably add a bit more stuff on the arrangement, like, you know, some effects in the background, but pretty much that's the whole beat. I will let it play, but before I do that, make sure you like the video if you found it useful. And yeah, let's play the beat.